into the nitty-gritty behind monsters from different lore. However, there is a general focus on D&D.
We are players and DMs, so we draw from our experience with different tabletop RPGs, and we tend to go off on tangents every so often.
If you're looking for facts and historical value, this may not be the podcast for you. But if you love discussing monsters and all of their potential, just for fun, then we got you covered.
Adult content warning, and with all that out of the way, my name is Dylan, and I'm joined once again by my two brave monster hunters.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Melina.
And this is Mornings with Monsters. Primal and vengeful, coming all the way to you from the frigid mountains, hiding among the icy shelves of the snow-covered pass. Who among us dares to seek the famed white dragon? Okay, white dragons. They're I guess the smallest and least intelligent as far as we'll get into their intelligence and how it differs, but in the monster manual, if we're looking at the 5e dragons, they are the least intelligent of the chromatic dragons, which are considered like the mean guys. But I would say when you talk about dragons, and if we take the monster manual and D&D and put it on a shelf for a minute, when you talk about dragons, there's kind of the two concepts in a lot of fantasy. There's a lot, but I look at it like you have your dragons that talk and they're super intelligent and, will mess with you. And then you have your other dragons that are just kind of, feral, animalistic forces of nature that don't talk and aren't necessarily, planning cunning schemes and things like that. There's so many different variations to it, but this is one of the dragons that kind of falls under that secondary category where they are smart in their own way, but they're not necessarily ruling an empire or anything. And I don't know if they talk. Let's see. They speak Draconic.
Draconic.
Yeah.
It's common too.
They do speak
Yeah,
common?
the only thing is they probably don't choose to talk very often.
Yeah. Oh, I see. I'm looking at the stat blocks and let's see. Yeah, okay, so the white dragon wormlings only speak Draconic. Everyone, that's probably true among most of the dragons, is the wormlings, yeah. Okay, cool. White dragons.
White dragon. So...
I'm actually kind of surprised to know that they were the smallest of the dragons,
Yeah, I'm not sure if that falls under, all of them, because it says smallest of the chromatic dragons. So I'm not sure if there's any metallic dragons that are even smaller. There might be. But this was also written before some of the other, Fizban's Treasure of Dragons or whatever, Treasury of Dragons, where they introduce the gemstone dragons and a bunch of other dragon stuff. But if you're talking about base dragons, I think they're still the smallest. I'm not sure how big, Sapphire, Moonstone, stuff like that. I'm not sure how big those are, but if you look at the white dragon, pictures of the white dragon, though, they look like little beefcakes, they look
chunky.
Instead of tall and lanky and, long legs and tails and stuff, they're kind of squished down. They look like the hunter of the dragons, essentially.
Yeah.
Which I think it makes sense because they are because they're small, they're mean.
Yeah.
They have inferiority
they prove
complexes. Themselves
and prove that they were strong just because they were small didn't matter.
So I see they are vicious, cruel, and it says they're driven by hunger and greed. But I think that they also lack the malice of most dragons, of the truly evil They're chaotic evil, technically.
But they're not like the black or the red.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Hmm.
saying. They're not going
Yeah.
to burn down a city, but if you
No.
come into their domain, they're going to eat you because they're hungry, and they're going to.
Yeah.
They are greedy still. They like treasure,
They
but
probably wouldn't back down from a fight if you wanted to
oh
challenge
no.
them.
Honestly, if I ran into, I feel like
You
white
even need
dragons would be one of the.
challenge.
Yeah, I feel like they'd be one of the scariest dragons to run into because they're Snow White in a white place. At
Yeah.
least red dragons, they kind of stick out in almost every
Mhm.
place.
It'd be like, is that a Yeti? No, it's a fucking dragon.
Also, when we talked about Yetis, it could be a Yeti riding a dragon.
That's right.
True.
Oh fuck.
Oh god. Aha.
And it says that they don't really respect anything other than, obviously white dragons of the opposite sex.
Yeah.
But if something is stronger than it, if it could best it in combat, it may consider befriending or being forced into not like
Something
a
of a
slavery,
tenuous
but like
relationship.
if
Yeah.
someone's gonna kill you anyways, can't beat them, join them, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like if a white dragon was like beat in it like at its own game or something like that, it would probably just move.
Yeah.
Like I feel like it would just like move its lair kind of
Mhm.
thing. Like it's more. I feel like it's probably more of a primal pride than like the
Kind of like
pride.
real animals maybe, and like the like lions where they protect their territories, but like if
Mhm.
they are
Yeah.
forced out, they're not just gonna go and die usually. They're
Oh, they go
They're
strong
not
make a
going
new
to
fight or
die, and
something.
they're not just gonna join whatever took over their like base.
Yeah, usually it's like you die or you leave and you go make a new
Yeah.
pride or
Exactly. Like, fish, get out of my way.
Although I do see the white dragons specifically fighting to the death. I mean,
yes.
Yeah.
like
But
they
if it
would keep
somehow
going.
got like if it was somehow fighting a enemy that was not a to the death fighter.
Yeah,
'cause
like
there
a
are some
powerful
things
wizard that brings it near death and
and just kind of leaves it there. Like
Mhm.
it might try and allow itself to die, but like I'm guessing it would be in a fucking like icy mountain area, and it wouldn't really die from elements.
no,
True.
yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
So a weird thing about, I guess it's not that weird, but anything that does this is just kind of weird to me. It only eats frozen things, right? Because its breath weapon freezes
Yeah.
things. That's so weird to me. I mean, that's not the same thing as like a fire dragon cooking something and eating
I don't know
it.
because like it buries its food too. Like even after it's killed, it'll bury it in the frost and ice and freeze it for a few days. But maybe it's like just like a curing thing for it,
Like an elemental,
like flavoring or something.
yeah. I just have a weird time. Like, I don't want a human popsicle. Like, what? I mean, obviously I don't, but what does? I mean, is that a common thing among like giant ice-based creatures?
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's like the first time I've ever really heard that something freezes their
Slush
food before
popsicle.
eating it.
Yeah, it's like he's on an all popsicle diet, and that sounds
that-
terrible.
Does it only eat frozen things? Because I know it freezes its like prey after it kills it.
Well, I mean, yeah.
I also have seen like it says that they eat like a lot of stuff in the sea, like whales.
Oh,
Yeah.
God, that would be terrifying to see. Just
That's
a
why I
white
was just-
dragon ripping a whale apart in the middle of the frozen
Right.
ocean.
I'm just imagining like what BP would say if he saw that.
Our sentient pirate ship.
Yeah.
pirate
Yeah.
E.
He'd be like, friends.
There's blood in the water.
Go get them.
Unfrozen in place.
So I think a really cool opportunity for like a campaign or an adventure would be like the frozen treasure, the treasure you can never get to or something.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
like they keep all their treasure frozen. What a great place for a dragon to keep his shit. Because like dragons, they just pile all their shit up and leave it and don't do anything with it most of the time. And
Yeah.
the white dragons got it down. You know, they freeze that shit. You have to get
Well, you're
past
not
the
going to get through
dragon.
that. You're not going to get through that.
No, I mean you can fireball it all day, but you still got to get past the white dragons.
Right.
And like you ain't sneaking in Frodo Baggins style, stealing the ring. Like
They also prefer treasures that resemble ice. So, like, imagine how difficult it would be to find diamonds in a fucking ice cave.
and not only do they don't pile it up either. They spread it out. They spread it out as much as possible so that it looks like glitter in the snow, like
So,
a
are they the
glittering
dumbest
ice
dragon?
cave. Huh?
So, are they the least intelligent dragon?
See, that's where I'm
Because
like, I don't know.
it
I
seems
think,
like they got street smarts and not book smarts.
yeah,
Like, as
I'm
far
kind
as
of wondering though,
dragon
because
intelligence.
like they were mentioned to have like the best memory of all the dragons. So I'm kind of wondering if it's less like tactical intelligence, like, oh, I'm gonna put this under ice so that nobody can get to it, or is it like, oh, I froze this in this piece of ice in this hallway on, this corner of my mountain. I know exactly where it is. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, your dragons
it's
can't
just so
necessarily
big and
So
like,
remember hiding places. That might be
yeah.
the partial reason why they like hoard in a pile.
So
Mm-hmm.
the best intelligence number on any of the white dragon stat blocks is the ancient white dragon, and that's a 10 plus,
Yeah.
so plus 0. And the worst it gets is -3.
Weird, because I feel like I don't know why I've always felt dragons were a little bit more on the intelligent side.
Oh, they normally are. I mean,
Oh, for white dragon,
yeah.
that's a white dragon.
Yeah, I'm
like,
talking about like the ancient
range.
white dragon is plus 0 and the wormling is -3.
Oh, I thought you meant like all dragons in general. I was like,
No, like ancient red dragon is plus 4. It's like 18,
Okay.
so they're super smart. So I'm just talking about white
Okay.
dragons specifically, and I know that's not like a set in stone thing, but there is like a, intelligence and wisdom, like based off of their scores. It kind of gives you a representation of like how smart they are. Like if you have a 1 in intelligence, like base stat, you are like a vegetable. I mean, or a squirrel or something.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine.
Right.
yeah, that's fair.
So I've only read about like one white dragon in literature.
Okay.
That isn't like the absolute antithesis of a white dragon, because like there are some in other books, but they're like nice and it's just the color that they came out as. But
Yeah.
when I was reading the Dritz books, he and one of the main characters, Wolfgar, a barbarian from like a very snowy part of the Forgotten Realms, they actually go into a white dragon's lair and kill him.
Oh.
Yep, it's cool because 2 things of note happen in that. The dragon has a very large name, but they nickname it Icing Death, and
Icing
that
Death?
actually ends up being the name of Dritz's scimitar that he finds in that hoard after they kill the dragon. It's a cold aspected scimitar, totally dope.
Sweet.
Yep, and the second thing of note is that to kill the dragon, Wolfgar has this like mighty hammer that like returns to him, and they're both about to die, and he notices up at the top of the ceiling is like a giant fucking ice spike hanging down from the ceiling. So he throws his hammer at it, and it like slides through the dragon's neck, pinning it down until it dies.
Oh, that's sick.
Shit.
Yeah, and it's like those are the things that I've always thought about. Like when I fight a dragon, I cannot just like rush at it. Even if I'm a
No,
barbarian, I cannot rush at it because that's not how you fight a dragon.
it's really
You know?
not. I always picture it like if I'm gonna fight a dragon, like as me, as a level 1 human class, I don't know, civilian class, maybe chef class.
There you go.
I'll take that. Subclass DM. If I was like, if I'm like, okay, I have to fight this dragon, my first tactic is not run straight at it with the sword. That's not
No.
going to do shit. Like, he's
Mm-mm.
just going to eat me up and burn me up. And, like, a lot of the times
Yeah.
in D&D, you know, you have to damage it. So if you're a fighting class or, like, a melee class, what do? You run up and you slash at it, I guess. But, like, I know in my instances when I...
It's like it's still so fucking intimidating to try and hit
Yeah.
something like a dragon, even if you're not going in there and touching it with your
Weapon.
weapons in
Yeah.
hand.
Yeah.
Like still just like
being
You might only
smart.
be 60 feet away from a 60-foot thing.
Yeah,
you know?
like-
Yeah,
you have
exactly.
so much, even what's the thing when you think about like the range on certain spells, it's like, okay, this spell has 160-foot range.
Yeah.
That's like 2 strides for this goddamn dragon that's however
Yeah.
big.
You know,
Like it's not necessarily the same.
You're not ever
as
far
fighting,
enough.
Like even fighting
and
a
the white
giant-
dragon has a 40-foot burrow speed.
Oh, gosh.
So
He can
that
go under the ground.
yeah, he could burrow. I just read that.
White dragons can?
Yeah, ancient white dragon, 40 feet burrow, 80
No
feet
thanks.
fly, 40 feet swim.
See, I told you 100 and no, that's 160 feet.
Well, that's
strides.
not all in one turn, but his speed
Well, I
movement walking is 40, but he can fly 80 feet in a turn. So 160 if he
2
dashes.
turns.
Yeah.
2 turns will get you 160 feet. All
Yeah.
I'm saying is I called it right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, you got it.
Strides. That's it.
But I think
I like being right.
like you guys haven't really, in my campaign, you've only gone up against 2 ancient class dragons, and I'll just say ancient class because
Was the last one we did ancient class?
yeah, that was an ancient class respec, half
Yeah.
custom, blah blah blah. It was barely a
Because
dragon.
it was a blight dragon, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
blighted dragon.
Every
with
time I
a
said
bunch
that to
of-
somebody
they're
who
like-
knew what D&D was, they were like, "Oh, what?"
Yeah, it was a homebrew kind of thing.
I liked it. It was a good fight.
It was I wanted to throw a dragon at you that didn't necessarily do dragon things. Like it didn't have a breath weapon, but it had layer actions and
I'm so happy
resistances
you
and stuff.
didn't have a breath.
I have resistance to breath weapons, and then you didn't use a goddamn breath weapon.
Oh, just you wait. And then the other dragon, the other ancient class dragon that you fought was a green dragon, but it was not necessarily trying to kill you. But even in that fight, when you guys were only way under leveled to fight it, it was chained down by a cult in the middle of a cave, and there was
That's right.
those massive ballistas on the sides of, like, there was like things where it was like you gotta add those, you know, things in the layer that you can interact with, because like
Yeah.
the answer isn't always run up and stab it, because if you guys would have tried to just run up and start stabbing this guy, he would have like done a average of 85 damage attacks on you, and that's more than you had a HP at the time. So
Yeah.
Wow.
I totally get what you're saying. Like you gotta think
You
of
gotta
something.
think about it.
You gotta think about it.
Yeah.
That's hard to do with the white dragon, because
Yeah.
the white dragon's not thinking about it. He's coming at you like a feral predator.
And they're I mean, it's a dragon, like we said. They're huge. They have a big range, and they have weird things that they can do. You want to fight a dragon in its lair, you're fucked because it's its lair. You want to fight a dragon like not in its lair, but you know, in a mountaintop, that's shitty for you, great for it. And now we know, even going underground or on
Mhm.
sea or anything really, this dragon will fuck you up.
Not to mention, if you're playing,
like the mountainous range, yeah, and it can like
Mhm.
burrow through cliffs
yep,
and like down into dungeons or whatever,
Yeah.
or into another room. Ugh.
yep.
Yeah, sounds terrifying.
And
Dude,
we're
I have
talking about
nightmares about that dragon-filled room. Which dungeon-like thing was it in? It was in the temple. The
you have
Oh,
temple.
that's right.
nightmares about that when you guys were creeping through the the landmine field of sleeping copper dragons.
Oh yeah.
There was like, what was it, 2 different rooms full of dragons?
There
Full.
was there was several rooms, and like one of them you guys decided not to go into, where there was an awoke adult copper dragon, and the other one was full of like
Oh,
I think there was like 20 copper wormlings or something crazy, and you guys decided to try and sneak past them because they were all um, in a bit
'cause
of
we're
like a
smart.
sleep, like a stasis thing. Yeah,
We're
those would have
not
fucked you up. That would have been a really hard fight.
20 worms.
We've had to learn to not like be murder hobos and
Yeah.
actually like go at situations with which like I feel like both all of our DMs do this. Dylan, you make like a point to be like, I'm throwing at you're like, if we don't get that we can't fight it, you're like, you guys, you can't fight this thing. That's the whole
Mhm.
point. Like,
Yeah.
you're like, P.S.
Well, I
This is
don't
not what
directly
you're doing.
say it, but there might
No,
be
no,
like
you
a
don't. I'm
NPC
sorry.
that's like, "Don't fight the dragon," and then you get
Yeah.
closer to the dragon's lair, and they're saying, "This dragon will kill any adventurer." Like, you guys
Not
half the time you're like, "We'll do it anyway."
I did
Wow.
similar when they came across like a water serpent that became a dragon. We're gonna fight that.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
I was like I made the dragon tell the party that like
You couldn't fight it.
you could if you wanted to, but it would be much easier if you guys just help me out with this goal that I can go away and I don't have to kill you.
Yeah.
Someone would have died
Well,
sooner. For sure.
as Stampy, yeah, I think I did like a history, intelligence, nature, religion check to see multiple times if we were strong enough to kill a kraken at level is 7.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I want to kill it. Like, these kraken filled waters. It's like we're probably not supposed to
world
try and kill
serpent
these things.
or kraken
Probably not.
or-
Yeah, the world serpent too. We're like, fuck it.
I kind of want to kill that thing
I
though.
kind of do too, but it's not
We'll
doing.
come back when we're level 20.
Yeah, when we're level 20,
One
we'll
of us
just
is gone.
run through the underwater mayhem of
Some end game stuff in the
world
ocean.
serpents.
A hug.
So I want to before
we're
we get
just
too far away
talking
from
about
it.
Oh.
For the white dragon. Before we get too far away from the lair, specifically, I was thinking about it like already terrifying, right? Already has ice spikes falling, filling the area with fog as it burrows around and gets behind you and pincer attacks and everything like that. On top of all of this, if you're playing nitty gritty to the book D&D, by the time you get to a layer where the white dragon would be, you're more than likely taking points of exhaustion fighting through the winter-filled wilderness. I mean,
I need to think about that.
yeah, like the chances of you getting to a white dragon's lair at full health, fully rested without exhaustion points is slim. I mean, there's so many things in the mountains that are going to continuously attack you. There's no safe place to really camp out unless you're fucking Kimmy with her tiny HUD or whatever. Her orb of fuck offery.
I also found
Master loves
something.
Kimmy for that.
I also found something that an artificer gets that could help.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you want to know yet or not, but there is this spell that artificers get where you take a piece of rope and you can magically imbibe it and like it stands straight up, and at the very top of the rope a dimensional door opens big enough for I think 8 medium or
is that
small
rope trick?
Yeah.
Rope trick? Yeah.
What?
Yeah, rope trick's sweet. And no
you
one ever
pull the
uses
rope
it.
in and it lasts for an hour.
Well, we never played with an artificer.
No, I know. And then Kelsey became one for one off that she made, and it's a terrifying character. And like, I want someone like that on my party when I'm fighting a white dragon.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah,
probably.
well, I mean, I feel like an artificer class is a good thing to have as an add-on to your party when you're fighting a dragon, because
Yeah,
they're almost forced to come up with creative solutions,
yeah.
Hmm.
just because of their
And I mean,
character
what
build.
better person than someone who's already used to doing that on any given basis, you know?
Yeah,
Bring the brain.
yeah, yeah. We'll see how it goes. Um,
I am interested to
You
see
think
what
that
Lark
like,
bring us.
do you think that like there are a multitude of other monsters living in and around the lair of the dragon, or do you think that the dragon wouldn't allow that?
that's a
I don't
good
know.
question. So
Because like, we've seen the Yeti be able to ride them in certain circumstances, but we also know that they like to bully other creatures. You know?
But they like to bully lesser creatures. Well, they
Yeah.
like to bully intimidating big creatures that
Okay.
because they are lesser and they essentially like as they age, they get more vicious, they get more
Sure.
cruel, they get more like violent. Like so it's almost like because of this conundrum they're put in with their chaoticness of like just attack on sight, ask questions later, bully these big guys so I don't feel so small. Like
Yeah.
they just are conditioning themselves to be these like uh super lonesome, like lonely mountain kind of style
Sure.
by themselves forever. Like I just can't imagine. I have to imagine that if a Yeti's gonna get to a white dragon to befriend and ride it, there's gonna have to be some sort of like big action taken that
Like
I
maybe
don't even
what we were
know what
saying
you could
earlier
do.
is that like a horde of them try to take down the dragon, and like right before it dies, it offers a deal like, hey,
Yeah,
we can just be
maybe.
friends and start like, you know,
working
going
together,
around the mountain settlements and just taking people as we want.
being a
Maybe they'll,
truly
Maybe white
terrifying
dragons
force.
observe Yetis, like,
yeah,
because Yetis are also from similar places, maybe as, like, the white dragon found its own lair to like, create, maybe it,
took it.
didn't go into Yeti societies, maybe it ran into 1 or 2 Yetis
Yeah,
and, like, respected how they lived their, like, life or whatever
yeah.
and was like, "Oh, cold creatures, cool." Like
I
Vicious
think
gold creatures.
I think that it wouldn't be that separated from its hunting grounds, right? Because you don't overhunt your
Their own
hunting
place.
grounds. You
Yeah,
can't, or you won't have hunting grounds.
yeah.
You'll scare them off, or you'll kill them all. And they're driven by, at first and foremost, hunger. That's so they're gonna kill everything in the immediate area. But if you're on a mountain and you are killing, like, your hunting grounds are the mountain, you're not going to kill everything on the mountain.
True,
So
true.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah, sure, maybe for the last half day of travel you're not seeing any monsters, but
sure.
like at the
Yep,
base and through the valleys and
yep.
caves, and like those are
Yeah,
filled, those got to be, I mean, because that's where it's tunneling through to pick off a yeti or two, or pick off a couple whatever the fuck scary looking half yak
oh
ogre
yeah,
creatures, like there's a lot of, like, when you're,
imagine that, like, there's a solid radius around the
yeah,
layer
sure.
that no one goes.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I would
yeah.
assume.
Not that the mountain it's the area itself is necessarily, like, barren of creatures.
Yeah. Again, to bring it to like a lion pride or whatever, like there's still
Yeah.
other things roaming those lands, but like there is a general radius probably where things know not to kind of go, because that's where the lions live. Yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't live that close if I
No,
was a yeti.
definitely not. No,
I'd be very
because like
wary.
even where that dragon Icing Death lived in comparison to like, because there was a barbarian tribe, a human settlement, and a dwarven settlement all in the same area. like on a frozen tundra,
Yeah.
and it was like ringed by mountains, and like one of those mountains behind that ring of mountains was where icing death lives. So I mean, even a pack of dwarves who could pretty much take down whatever you throw at them won't fuck with a dragon or its territory. Like they stay as far away as possible,
Yeah. Yeah, without abandoning everything.
Yeah, and
Without trying not to.
That's really surprising to me because I mean, I know dwarves are smart fighters. They enjoy the challenge of taking something down that would take down one or even 10 of them. But to know that they will let some crazy threat like a dragon live untested, unchallenged, not too far away from their home just because they know what would happen, like that's pretty intense.
Yeah, that speaks volumes for that,
Yeah,
the strength of that
absolutely.
creature with that they haven't even tried. And you see dwarves and white dragons, at least for some reason I always feel like I've listened and seen a lot of campaigns, and there's always like the dwarfs in the north. Like the cold weather dwarves.
Yeah.
And with that comes the white dragons, so like they're just kind of in the same area. Yeah, but I haven't
Yeah,
seen a lot of dwarves fighting white dragons, and there's probably
me
a
neither.
reason for that.
Honestly, the only dragon I've ever seen a dwarf fight is in the Forgotten Realms books, and it's like an old necrotized black dragon,
Yeah. Okay.
and like they had to do it to clear out like an ancient dwarven settlement that
Sure.
it's like the big home, like the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
kingdom. And so like that's the only time I've ever seen them fight a dragon because outside of that, I don't know if they would,
No,
you
probably
know?
not. I mean, you look at Smaug, right? They stayed
Yeah,
away from that bitch for how many 100 years or something?
right. Yeah. And in this book, in this series, that dragon came and took over the mountain like 300 years prior.
Yeah.
Enough that like I forget the dwarf's name, but he's like Dritz's best friend,
Yeah.
and he's like the dad of Catti-brie and Wolfgar, and he was the only living member of that society that like was still alive to remember that dragon. So it's been hundreds of years that they abandoned this place all because a dragon broke in. So it's like that's pretty crazy to me. Like they'll break into your home, and you as a dwarven society, a culture of warriors whose like only goal is to make better weapons and like protect better.
Yeah.
You just dip because that's a fucking dragon in your house.
Yeah.
All right, so
Well,
for some reason there's a little bit of frost buildup on my monitor. Oh, yep. We got some ice spikes forming above me. I'll be right back, guys. I got to make a DC 10 Constitution saving throw,
Yeah.
and we'll be right back. Welcome to the middle of the episode. Just as summer hits, we decide to talk about a frost dragon, the white dragon. Super fun. Weird timing. Unintentional. Anyways, thanks for listening, you guys. Make sure you tell everyone you know, your friends, your enemies, your family, your anyone, nerds, even not nerds. They might enjoy it. As always, huge shout out to @MizenCake on Instagram. Check them out if you want to see some awesome work. We got a cover art done by them. So thank you so much. Also, if you found this podcast by scanning a QR code on a cute little sticker, that is at Olava's Cryptid Crafts. Check them out as well. Next week, we're bringing you another monster. I know, big surprise. That's all I have for you this week. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, whatever thing you can do on whatever podcast listener that you're using. Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. We will see you next week. Bye. Well, we're back, and I must be half dwarven because I got a dirty 20 on my Constitution saving throw.
Oh yeah.
Or I just drink enough beer. Maybe. White dragons, we're back. We're safe. I feel one burrowing underneath my feet as we speak, but it's fine. Cool. So, white dragons. we've talked about where we've seen them a little bit in the Dritz books. Have we seen them anywhere else?
Yeah, I've seen them in Final Fantasy. I think I
Final
told you guys
Fantasy?
about it when
Okay.
we brought this up.
I
I'll
don't think
also
I.
say frost dragons, because this
Yeah.
is the closest thing we've seen to a frost dragon, right? I'm trying to think if I've seen any. I know that they recently ish used one in Not Another D&D podcast, and
Oh.
it was like a sassy tween version of an adult dragon, which was a fun play on it. And by tween, I mean only like a couple hundred years old.
Right.
So that was interesting. But that dragon specifically was in a place where there was a bunch of different kinds of dragons with dragon elves and all sorts of things. So she had a bit of a. I think she was in a forest that had like an ice cave, and it got a little bit different. But obviously, that is a hardcore like role playing situation where it's more for the listener than it is about the D&D mechanics.
Right.
Great podcast though, if you guys are looking for a good listen. So that's really the most, and I listened to that recently, so that's the most top of my mind. But I'm trying to think. Frost dragon. I feel like there's got to be, right? Because if you watch anything with multiple dragons, frost dragon's the second most obvious dragon. There's a fire dragon. There's a frost dragon.
Yep.
I feel like we've probably seen them in different depictions, like a lot more than we realize. They probably were not white.
You guys have seen Blue Eyes White Dragon from Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yep. I was also going to say there's probably a Pokemon or two that could fall under that category.
Is it?
Maybe not a dragon. But also, the dragon class gets a little wonky in Pokemon, so.
It is.
Who knows?
A worm that inhabits an apple is technically a white or a dragon, you know?
Yeah. The apple core looking thing.
Yeah. So they have one in Pokemon, Reshiram.
Reshiram. That's an ice type dragon. I feel like those are the only qualifications, right? Ice and dragon type?
White dragon.
It looks like a white dragon. Looks like, I mean...
he is a fire type dragon.
Oh, there's a dragon in ice time. Baxcalibur, ice dragon Pokemon.
Baxcalibur?
BAX Calibur. Calibur. He is obviously named because he has a giant axe blade on his back. Baxcalibur. Love it. Some of the naming conventions in the newest Pokemon game were very fun. And a little bit on the nose. Yeah. But hey, they got over 1,000 now. Who can blame them?
That makes sense.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Yes, they do. And interesting.
I think I just fought that guy.
From the newest game.
Yeah.
I did just fight this guy.
Yeah, I was like, he looks familiar. I think he might have
been. That's cool.
He might have been in the Elite Four or the Frost Gym or something. Okay.
I think he was one of the Dragon Leagues.
Oh, the dragon type.
The Dragon Elite Four guy.
Yep, that's where it was. Okay. Yep. Well, they're in Pokemon too. I'm sure I'm missing some. There's got to be an anime.
Oh yeah.
That's right on the top. Anyways, so with that being said, are they underrated, overrated? I think we kind of answered that question. I mean, they're super cool, very interesting, and they're not really used that much apparently. At least the white dragon variant. Ice dragons are probably more common, but I personally think they're pretty underrated, underutilized. And I would say also used wrong a lot. You don't see feral dragons. I mean, maybe wormlings, but like most of the time when you're fighting a dragon, adult or ancient in any kind of D&D setting, they're talking to you and they're scheming and plotting, and you know, they're not just animalistic.
Yeah, I oftentimes think that like majority of the time you come up to a dragon, regardless of color, and it starts talking to you, it's because it's bored as fuck.
Probably.
You know what I mean? Like
But
it
a
might
white
not have
dragon's
left
not
a
gonna be
killer.
bored to talk to you.
Right.
It's
A
gonna
white dragon isn't going to give a shit about that. You know what I mean? Like it's only going to want to challenge you or eat you.
Yep. Yeah, because even the most evil of dragons, other than the white dragon, is driven by a few more things than just greed and hunger. Like,
Yeah.
it does need to satiate that thirst for, you know, intelligent conversation, at least to a certain degree, every couple of thousand years or whatever.
Yeah.
At least I would if I was doing nothing. Even a red dragon probably wants to talk to somebody a couple times in its life.
Yep.
Yeah, so
At least another dragon.
at least another dragon. Okay, cool. Let's see. We really should update our prompt questions. Why are they misunderstood? Say people don't really, like we just said, misuse them
You
a
don't
lot.
see them.
Yeah, you
You
don't
know?
see them. Yeah, maybe
You don't
that's
run
what it
across
is.
them.
They're just such stealth hunters that you never see them in campaigns.
And I mean, you have to understand that, like, if there's a known white dragon in the area, every single person who knows about it is going to warn every person they can. Don't go there. Don't go up there. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I mean,
I
you
think
guys have been within probably 100 miles of a white dragon in Vicolia without
that's good
knowing,
to know.
without knowing it.
That would make sense. Well, what I was thinking the whole time we were like looking over it, I'm like, shit, that like ice storm, there was probably something up in those mountains. Although
Those are
I don't
good
know what's
ideas.
even left of that area. Aster's very confused. She's like, she didn't go to any of the places she should have gone to. She didn't get. I don't know.
You guys
I'm
are speed running. There's nothing wrong with that.
I
Keep
also
on
feel like
speed
we.
running because you keep telling me that these things are emergencies, and then you give us 6 other things to do, and I'm like, but emergency.
They're all emergencies.
You always got to take time to stop and smell the roses, except for when the world's ending, I guess. But who knows?
Well,
Maybe it's not.
Tell me the world's ending. I'm not going to be like, well, let's go check out these ancient ruins before we go fight this thing that's killing people.
Well, yeah, there might be clues there
But
to help.
I
Also
know.
doing that right now, though. Literally, we are literally checking out ancient ruins instead of going to kill something that's killing people.
Yeah, you wouldn't
What?
look at any of my ruins, so I forced you to look at some of them.
I was about to say, like, we're going to Sun's place.
Well, yeah. Now yeah.
But
I'm
that is
excited.
one of your main goals, or at least you've decided it is.
That's the one we have to do.
Yeah. Well, I know Aster wants to get there because that gets us closer to Azari.
your end goal. Okay, cool.
Aster's end.
So yeah, I'd say they're misunderstood. I think like when people think of dragons, at least in D&D, they think highly intelligent. You know, think before they act most of the time, or they think of them as arrogant and like they're just so powerful that they're going to smite you. But I don't really necessarily see that in the white dragons. I think less so like I'm the strongest, so I will prove my strength. It's more so like a sense of like I'm going to fight the biggest guy in the schoolyard, so no one fucks with me.
Yeah.
Since they are small, and they have a little bit of Napoleon syndrome as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I doubt most of them know that they're smaller than other dragons, right? But like, does it?
Maybe they do though. Maybe
Maybe.
that's like a driving factor of like their aggression and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like out of all the dragons, the white dragons probably see the least amount of other kinds of dragons. Like,
Yeah, they don't really go anywhere.
yeah, they kind of stay to their icy domains, and like other dragons don't really want to fuck with the icy domains because it's not, you
It's
know,
cold.
yeah. Most of them are like in the forest or the caves or you know, maybe the mountains. I guess they probably don't care about the cold too much, but at least I don't see it. If I was a dragon, I probably wouldn't want to live in a blizzard-filled tundra or something.
Yeah, because it's like
Yeah, I think it just
magically blizzard.
depends on the mountain.
Yeah.
Like there's there's peaks on the Green Spire that aren't snow locked.
Oh yeah, that's why they're called the Green Spire, because there's a
Mhm.
lot of green. You guys just happened upon
The icy part.
an icy part.
part Aster's never seen before.
Maybe it's not always icy. Who knows?
Might
Okay.
have just-
Well, we're on to my last prompt question. My
We went
favorite
down
one.
total D&D rabbit hole right
We
there.
did. And like, before we get on to that, I will say that like, if you just type in White Dragon without typing in D&D, you're gonna get a whole lot of other stuff. So
Yeah.
Stuff.
there's a ton of white dragons and like Chinese lore and stuff like that that have like completely different and opposite like things from D&D.
The White Dragon.
No, we should
in
talk about Chinese dragon lore.
represents
We probably should.
purity.
What'd you say?
I'm pretty sure white dragons in Chinese lore represent purity, is what it said.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That would
they,
make sense.
I'm pretty sure it's also a Monster Energy flavor.
pretty sure. It's also a TV show from 2018.
It might be a Power Ranger.
It's a supervillain.
Oh, a super villain.
Yep.
Okay.
They have
In
a soapy
DC.
flavor called White Dragon.
Sobe is not a thing anymore.
No,
Yeah.
Crazy.
so sad.
I miss my milk tea with caffeine.
right?
It's also like 4 restaurants.
That tracks, yeah.
White Dragon.
White Dragon. I would eat at the White Dragon, although it also sounds like a place that probably doesn't deserve that. Never mind. I was gonna go down the health department route again. We're gonna stay away
yeah.
from that. We're gonna stay away from the
Okay.
carpeted kitchens.
Oh God.
Yeah, okay. How would we like to see them used in gameplay or media? This is a tougher one for me. We've also talked about a lot of scenarios already.
I want to see a weirdly intelligent one. Like,
Same. I was just saying that.
Cool.
yeah, I think that would be. We talked a little bit about like that with Mind Flare usage. It's like there can be the random outlier that's just not quite the
Not better
same.
than
And I'm not saying
Always.
that.
I would think for any race, right?
Yeah,
There's always an
yeah.
Albert Einstein, right? I do want to say I was looking this up while you're thinking about that. Earlier with the intelligence score and kind of like what that means. It seems kind of to me, if I look through all the stat blocks, that the older they get, the smarter they get. Because if you're looking at a wormling, it's got a 5 intelligence, which means pre-sapient, which, not even sapient, which is crazy. And then if you look at all the way you jump to ancient white dragons, you have an intelligence score of 10, which is fluent, which is right above dull. So they are barely fluent in like
Those things.
Yeah, they have deduction via many related details. So they have flashes of insight, mildly forgetful, and that's as smart as they get. That's the best stat block for the ancient white dragon, because you don't get to smart until 12.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
and 1 is borderline object. So that's just kind of at least
It's fun to see, like, as a party, you're walking into this like lair, and instead of like your traditional horde that's just like a shapeless pile of ice that has stuff inside, it would be really awesome to see like humanoid figures of vanquished enemies from the past that are like fully made out of ice, sculpted or carved or just like blown into shape, with all of their stuff like frozen deep inside of it.
Yeah.
And then like the fear you would see, like you would come across, and like the introspection you would have as a player, like, I know we're fighting a white dragon, I know we're in for danger, but what kind of fucking white dragon does this?
Hell yeah.
It'd
That's
be interesting.
crazy. Like a glittering cave. Like, there's
Yep,
probably
exactly
like
what I was thinking.
a shot of like them walking in and seeing just like speckles of like a starry sky in an ice cave, and then they realize there's humans also, or dwarves.
It would
and
be
elves.
like, in Doctor Who, when you accidentally happen upon a room full of weeping angels.
Oh God.
Like, that's exactly what I'm going for. That kind of
Terrifying.
like terror, Like,
Yeah.
those things are coming back to life when you look away from them, but whatever made them is still there.
Yeah.
Just the idea of that would make Jade scream.
Yep. We still had a weeping angel tree topper.
I have my weeping angel like Christmas tree lights or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't like get myself to keep them up regularly.
Because as soon as you
Yeah,
turn
I
off the
don't mind.
lights, all bets are off. Who knows?
Right.
They are
You draw
scary.
one.
I mean, I don't know why they're so fucking scary. Like the idea of them is so scary. Them as a thing.
Well, I mean, you're talking about something that like when you see it, it is incapable of being something that's not a statue, but like the moment you look away, it has free range of movement, you know?
Scary. And it always wants to
Yeah.
get you. Wants to
Yeah.
get you and turn you into one or whatever they do. Um, okay. Melina, you got any ideas? Any?
Oh, has my brain started working again, you mean? No, my cat's too cute for that. That didn't make sense. So I think it would be cool to see like a couple white dragons in one, not like one place per se, but like sharing a lair, like 2 or 3 white dragons. Kind of like that similar idea that Alex was saying of like this treasury of kills and treasures. And but like because they were able to like share in this chaotic evil sense with these like whether they be like brothers or whatever it is, um sibling dragons, somehow they were able to like, help each other gain more intelligence. And like again, I like the idea of like the intelligence is more of like when we say like street smart versus book smart. Like white dragons, they strike me as street smart. Like they know how to interact with the world. They know how to get the best kills without impacting their hunting grounds, without scaring off like societies that are within like range that will continue to provide like stuff to hunt. Like so they're not going to like kill enough that they make this village move and make their presence known, but they're still going to find a way to like kill and capture and get whatever they want when they want kind of thing. So they're just like, like kind of combining like there's some sort of aspect of them being smarter just
I mean, I
somehow.
could see that.
Like
There's 3 collections of memory and experience to pool instead of just that one
Yeah.
in isolation. I mean,
yeah, and then it kind of creates the opportunity of like of trading, the idea of the fact that they like value something.
yeah,
So it's like, hey, we want like our dead back. Let's like we see what you value. Like we'll trade you whatever in
hmm,
order to get like this one humanoid that's in display in your layer back that we want to bury properly, whatever.
right. Yeah, and I mean they are said to be like lazy about collecting their hoard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they don't go out in search of treasure, but if treasure is found on things that they kill, they'll bring it back to their lair. So that could be an easy way of a collection of white dragons living together to get more treasure. Kill
Yeah.
things, freeze them, and wait for people to come and ransom them back to you, you know?
Yeah, kind of like I like that idea too. Like not like I wasn't thinking as purposeful, but like
Hmm.
they might eventually like see the usefulness in that.
Yeah. Yep.
There could also be like maybe they like come across a mage or that gives them some sort of like spell that allows them to even, you know, deal with living hostages and not like them being able to freeze but not kill whatever they're
Interesting.
capturing for trade. I don't know. Just a thought.
That'd be fun though. It would be
Okay.
it'd be a fun circumstance where like you want to fight this dragon. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
don't want to, but you probably shouldn't.
I like
Like,
it.
you'll
Especially
lose.
yeah, especially if you know that there's 2 other ones, you know what I mean? Like in the same place.
Yeah. So, like, as the mage, you
The
could
biggest brother appears.
yeah. You could be like, my trade to you is don't kill me and I'll show you, like, how to have better hostages. Like, I'll give you the ability
I'll
to
teach you the local trade routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like shit like
You
that.
bring
Kind of.
furs, they'll give you shiny stuff.
That could be how they get into like interactions with Yetis, interactions with spell use. Like, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
That's
Yeah,
scary.
that's a good idea.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Absolutely
Just
fucking
go
terrifying.
see a Yeti village and there's just a dragon behind a little stall. It's like trying
You guys
to
give me
sell
my
some.
stuff?
He's trying to sell some stuff and you're just eating people randomly. Yep,
Just
that's
like,
Fred, the ancient frozen one.
oh my Lord.
I'm going to say, first of all, throwback to the Yeti episode. Still want to see a bunch of Yetis mounted on the backs of white dragons heading into a glorious battle.
Yeah.
Would be terrifying and awesome imagery. if it,
Right.
Dude, I think it'd be fun to see that interaction.
Hell
like
yeah.
how make that work.
Like, you know, like a kingdom of people goes to fight the Yetis and then they're like, fuck you. And then they ride in on their dragons and there's
Right.
epic battle. And
God, that would be cool.
the other thing I'm thinking, like, gritty, like, independent European style film of, like, someone going on a mountain hiking adventure, right? And then they, like, get to, like, these really old, you know, woods where there's, like, one lady living and she's like, don't go in the mountains, there's a creature. And they're like, fuck you, lady, we're still going, like, stupid teenagers. And then, like, as they're traveling through this, like, Everest style climb, like they slowly get picked off and then like Jaws style, you never see it until the last person's alive, and you know, then they have to enter this cave and see all these frozen bodies of the villagers and treasure galore, and then they either, you know, who knows how it ends, it's to be continued. But they see the, you know, image of the white dragon and probably die because they're just a normal human, unless
I
they.
was about to say, like, it would be cool if at the back of like this tunnel of caves that they're walking in, you know, the person sees like some remnants of their party,
Oh yeah.
and then she just like the person just walks through and ends up like walking into the maw of the dragon.
Oh,
Snap shot,
scary.
right?
Yeah.
That would
Fucking
be
cut to
fun.
black. Finn.
Yeah.
Yeah, as she's walking through the cave, she notices like the tent is encased in ice from the first night that went missing. Like, oh
Yes.
my god, just scary. I think that would be
That'd be
fun.
amazing.
And that would that would let the feral nature of like it just being a you know, crazy force of just a super strong creature living on its
Yeah.
own, let that shine a
There is
little
no
bit,
like
you know?
talking to it, you know?
Yeah.
Like even getting to the destination, it doesn't matter. It's just gonna eat you.
Yeah, it showed up in its territory and now you are its prey and it's going to
Yep.
spin you up in a web like a spider and freeze you. Well, not a
It's
literal
terrible.
web,
That's
but
terrible.
like a Shelob situation. You guys, the burrowing's getting a little bit stronger and it's pretty cold in here. These ice spikes are, oh, yep, one just fell. I think we gotta call it here before I get eaten. This has been a morning with monsters. Make sure you join us next week for another morning with another monster. We gotta work on that outro. I'm Dylan.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Melina.
We'll see you next time. Bye.